How the Turtle Got Its Shell. Long ago, long before turtles looked the way they do now, this happened. Late one evening, a small turtle gazed up in wonder as the stars and a full moon appeared high above her. Her day had been spent much like many before, searching for food, watching for danger, and exploring the large bayou where she had hatched not all that long before. And of course, she was always on the lookout for other turtles. Her egg had been all alone on the day she had hatched, and she was quite lonely. Most of the other bayou creatures didn't want to chat. They were all far too busy. She then turned to the nightly task of finding a safe place to hide for sleep, for although the bayou was beautiful, it was full of many dangers if one was not cautious. She moved to a dry area at the base of some tall trees and began pulling fallen leaves and sticks into a pile between some tree roots to hide in. When she was done, she looked the pile over and sighed, thinking to herself, as she had many times before, "If only I had an actual home, like some of the other creatures, this would be so much easier and so much more comfortable." But she had tried that before, and each time she had thought she'd found a safe, permanent place, it was either destroyed by the weather, or she found out that the area she had picked was too dangerous, or she found out someone else had already claimed that spot. And so she continued instead with making a new place each night. She bent down onto her hands and knees to back herself into her pile, and as she did, she looked around her one last time to check for danger. She was surprised to find herself face to face with a small, strange creature crawling down a nearby root in the bright moonlight. She gasped, which startled the creature, making it gasp as well. Then they both fell silent, staring at each other. The creature then whispered quietly, "If you're going to eat me, please be quick, but I'm not sure I will taste good." "Eat you?" The turtle's cheeks turned pink, and she said shyly, "I thought you were going to try to eat me." The creature blinked and chuckled, then rambled, "Snails don't eat turtles, but are you sure you don't eat snails? Because I would really rather not be eaten, if you don't mind. There's so much more I would like to do and so much more to discover still." The turtle was surprised to hear such fast talking that she could barely keep up with. "I promise I won't try to eat you. My name is Water Lily." The snail replied, "I'm Slimy, my name is Slimy. Since you promised not to eat me, would you like to be friends? I think having more than one set of eyes to watch for danger is a good idea. And anyway, I would like to have someone to talk to. Talking to myself gets quite boring even though I'm great at it. What do you think? Do you agree?" Water Lily smiled as a yawn escaped. "I would love to have someone to talk to, but for tonight I'm very tired. Would you like to share my, she glanced at the pitiful pile of sticks and leaves, shelter?" She waited while the snail slowly moved down the tree root and examined the pile skeptically. Well, I have my shell to sleep in, but if you could just put that big leaf over there over me, that would help hide me better." So Water Lily picked up the leaf and watched as Slimy disappeared into her shell until it was all that Lily could see of her. Then the turtle carefully placed the leaf over the snail, completely hiding her. "Thank you," a muffled snail voice said. "That's perfect." Water Lily glanced around again to check for danger, and when she was satisfied that it was safe, she backed into her shelter for the night. As she tried to fall asleep with pebbles and sticks jabbing her, she couldn't help but be just a little bit envious of the built-in home of the snail. The next morning, Water Lily was awakened by the warmth of the sun peeking through the branches of the trees high above and shining its beams down to the ground. She quickly climbed out of her shelter to see if the snail was still there. Slimy was just beginning to come out of her shell, and she grinned at the turtle. "Good morning, friend. Did you sleep well? I slept wonderfully. That leaf over the top of me made me feel very safe. Now I'm very hungry, so we should look for breakfast. Don't you think so? Where do you like to go to eat? I think we should get started right away since I'm a bit slow sometimes. Just lead the way and I will follow you. Or if you want to go faster, you will have to carry me. I am what I am after all." Water Lily had opened her mouth to answer, but had gotten lost in the barrage of quick words and questions, so she just said, "Okay," and lifted the snail into her arms. She wasn't too heavy, but it still slowed Water Lily down a little bit. From that day on, they were the best of friends, and Water Lily frequently carried Slimy so they could get places faster, although turtles aren't really known for being very fast themselves. They did almost everything together and kept watch for danger for each other. Slimy usually did most of the talking, but Water Lily didn't mind at all. Slimy's imagination was very entertaining, and the turtle loved listening to the stories that she made up. As time passed, Water Lily couldn't help becoming envious of Slimy's shell. The feeling grew and grew, and one day, while Slimy was a little ways away looking for food, Water Lily felt very depressed. She had spent a very uncomfortable night in the rain, and had hardly gotten any sleep while she watched the raindrops slide right off of the snail's shell. She felt so upset that finally she sat down on a large lily pad and pouted. "It's just completely unfair. Why should snails get to have shells while turtles have no shelter at all?" she complained to the lily bud next to her. Unknown to her, Slimy was not as far away as the turtle had thought. She was just on the other side of the lily bud, out of view. When she heard Water Lily's words, she was startled. She had no idea that her friend felt this way, because every night Water Lily was so helpful to cover her with a leaf to keep her safe, and they spent so much time together. But she had never said anything like this before. Slimy was heartbroken, and wished she could somehow share her shell, or help her friend find a more permanent, comfortable home. A large snail tear fell down to the lily pad below her. At the same time, the turtle also began to cry. She didn't like how she felt, because she loved Slimy. "I shouldn't feel this way. Slimy's my best friend," she said, so quietly that Slimy barely heard her. But upon hearing it, another large snail tear fell. The tears of the two friends flowed towards the center of the lily pad where the large lily bud rested. When the tears reached the bud and mixed together, something magical began to happen. While they watched in wonder, the lily bud began to glow with a bright golden shine until it was so bright that they could barely look at it. It then grew up on its stem, and the flower began to open right before their eyes. When the glow dimmed, a beautiful little water pixie wearing a shimmering dress stood in the center of the petals. The pixie stretched and yawned, and then smiled broadly and asked, "What is this? Powerful tears of love and sadness have called me from Pixieland. Whatever is the problem?" She looked around the lily pad and spotted the turtle on one side and the snail on the other. Slimy spoke quickly before Water Lily could say anything. "Please, beautiful pixie, my friend the turtle needs a home, somewhere where she will be safe and dry at night, something like my shell." Water Lily was speechless and ashamed, for she suddenly realized that Slimy had heard her angry words. The pixie looked back and forth between them. "I can grant one wish, but you must give something up in order to make it possible. Are you willing?" Slimy suddenly knew deep down what she needed to do, and so without hesitation she said, "Yes, I will give my shell so that Water Lily can have a safe home." Water Lily gasped and moved towards her friend. "No, I don't want that, please." But it was too late. The pixie smiled brightly. "So be it." A bright glow surrounded Slimy, and when it flowed away from her, her shell was gone. The bright light moved until it fell upon Water Lily. The turtle felt strange tingles and prickles throughout her body, and when the light dimmed, she was in a shell. It fit her perfectly and felt so natural, and it was so pretty. She looked down at herself, feeling a great excitement. But then she remembered. "Slimy!" She moved as quickly as she could across the lily pad to her friend, who watched her approach with a soft smile on her little face. She was now shellless, but she was very happy for her friend. Water Lily scooped her up into her arms and hugged her. You shouldn't have done that. Now how will I keep you safe?" She looked up at the pixie and pleaded, "Please switch it back. I don't want it to be like this. I'm sorry for what I said. I didn't mean it. Give the shell back to Slimy." "Are you certain?" the pixie asked. "Are you willing to give up your greatest dream to restore your friend's shell?" "Yes," she cried. "Please give Slimy's shell back." "Very well," the pixie nodded with satisfaction. The bright glow surrounded them again. As the glow intensified, the pixie proclaimed, "From this day forth, all turtles will be born with a shell because of the great love of your friend Slimy. And because you both loved so well and have touched my heart, I will do one more favor for you." The glowing magic lifted them in the air for a moment, then it slowly lowered them to the ground. When it disappeared, a sparkling golden snail shell rested on Slimy's back where her old shell had once been. The pixie announced, "This shell is given to you because of your selfless gift to your friend, which has proven that your heart is gold. This shell will protect you, and you will not be able to be harmed by anything. You are now a pixie snail, and will be known as Slimy, the protector of turtles." She then looked at Water Lily. "You will not be able to be harmed either from now on, for you are now a pixie turtle, and shall be known as Shelly, the protector of snails." Shelly looked down at herself in surprise and realized that she also had a golden shell. The two friends hugged each other tightly. The pixie continued, "Your charge is to work together to serve others and help those who are worthy as I have helped you today." She leaned down then and kissed each of them lightly on the foreheads, and they both felt magic flow into them. From that day on until today, the two friends serve happily together in Pixieland. And if you doubt whether this story is true, just look at a turtle and you will see the proof. For as you well know, all turtles now have shells. The end of our story, but the start of a beautiful journey together.